This conference will now be recorded.
I'd like to welcome everyone to our Mayor and Council workshop tonight. First thing on the agenda, I don't think we have anybody signed up there already.
No, sir.
For citizens' comments, so we'll go right on into town manager report. Jared?
A lot of my report has to do with the bulleted items on the new business. So I kind of will let that go and then maybe comment on some of those items as it goes along. But that's mostly where I want to focus my new business updates.
Okay. Police Department, Chief, you good down there? You are? Yeah, that's good. Everybody's good.
Motion to
Okay, I know we have an agenda lined up, but we're gonna jump around here for a minute, because one of our guests has been away all week at the fair, and,
I'm headed out tomorrow.
oh, you're headed out tomorrow? Oh, okay, very early in the morning. So, we're gonna go down to the Economic Development Commission recommendation. I'm sorry, review of the Economic Development Commission draft downtown beautification plan. Terry?
So I believe you have that in front of you, Brian.
You can come up front if you like.
Oh, okay.
That way you can talk into the mic and everybody can hear you nice and loud, clear.
All right. I believe Brian sent to you that proposal. So we looked at this at our meeting last Wednesday, and there were some specific things we want to change on this plan, but what we went ahead and did was approve the plan based on those recommended changes, so that we can bring that to you. And hopefully get your report for it this evening. So if you look at the draft, let's see, the three things that we are looking to change are the ones that are highlighted, written in red. So on page 2, upper left-hand corner, Schaefer Park, Main Street entrance. That's over by Schaefer Park. So one change to that was that the 3 historic signs are going to be moved to various other locations. So those will come off the drawing, and that area will just get filled in with more annual planting. The other thing that was a concern to us down at the bottom on the Main Street sketch is that they had some in-ground planting areas in the sidewalk, and we know that's an issue, so we don't want to do that. So we are asking that they take those off and replace it with, to add a couple more benches out here on Main Street. So we won't be tearing up the brick or doing anything to that structurally. And if you switch to the following page, page 3, that is a drawing of the traffic circle. And the one thing we'd like to change to that is making the sign be more of a V or something that's like somewhat circular U shape, so it's visible from the 2 entrances rather than just one. So we'd like them to reflect that in the drawing that comes back for the final draft. And so, well, if you have any questions about this, the goal of this would be that then we can get pricing, we can have this plan to submit for draft or for grant funding. There's a lot of sources out there that like on these kinds of things, but we need the plan to be able to hand to them. And we would like to make the traffic circle a priority. You know, if it comes to that we can get a certain amount of funding, you know, we would want to do that project first, since it seems to be a high focus area that's kind of not real nice right now.
So on page 3, with the traffic circle.
Yeah.
So what I'm looking at is just a flat sign that's facing 68, correct? 67, I always get the, 67.
Well, I
Well,
think
it's
that's,
so-
Or so alternate 40.
Or all the 40,
right.
but they're gonna,
67 now.
Okay, so I was trying to.
There's alternate
We'd like to make
coming
it
down.
So this is Ocean Tag here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Right,
it's
but-
Oh, so this
bigger.
is, this is
That's
for,
all. We're supposed to be like there.
so you want to make it more of a curve
Yeah,
you
so
can
that
see
it's
it from
suitable
all-
40 and 60,
Right.
67.
yeah.
Right.
Right.
I don't know if you're familiar with the one in Brunswick. It's kind of, as you approach, it's kind of got a little curve to it, so it is visible.
I think I've been by it, but I don't,
That's-
you know.
Yeah,
That's
my
what I
question would be,
have.
don't we have to have state highway approval before we put
Yes, we do.
signage or anything on it? I mean, like something that collapses, if somebody hits
We
it,
will
you
have
can't,
to.
you can't, like,
And I'm sure they have.
fall. I mean, they have a lot of
Specifications on height
movement
and-
right now,
yes.
so.
They do, and when we had our meeting with FSA in person, which I think was like September or October last year now, it's been a while. We did say, obviously this has to go in front of state highway, but let's, considering everything that let's try to make it adaptable for their plans so that we don't have a huge holdup to get them to approve it. And one thing I will mention about this is, we have some money, some grant money, already that we've received from the Rural Maryland grant. We have $18,000 towards Wayfair signage and different, uses through town. So we thought, and we could put that towards that sign if it helps to speed things up. So we have that grant money in our possession.
And then my only other question then to worry about is like, at the bottom of Lincoln Avenue, I know it's lawn, but right now homeowners don't know, and you know what I mean? And keeping it up, and you know what I mean, like they were kind of put there so that people didn't park right along the road for visibility of being able to pull out.
Right.
Have we even talked to any of the residents, I know the one house is for sale right now, but have we talked to the residents or, I feel like we need to at least make sure this is getting proposed and get their input before we approve anything. 'Cause, it's right in front of their house. And they're probably gonna be the ones that end up having to trim it or, taking care of it or,
I don't know. that
Like-
that's- I don't know that we want to put that on there. I'm trying to make this clear. If you look at what some of those plants are.
Yeah, I know, it's kind
Guide.
of hard to read the little tiny, description and the,
I don't think they're gonna get very high, are they?
No, because like the ones are 1 gallon grasses and then they have 3 gallon ones. The ones that like are drawn to appear like a tree. I'm trying to-
yeah, I wasn't sure if there was trees there.
If you go to the last page, there's a key.
Yeah, I
There's
know,
no
I was trying to
diagram.
look at that key and the little picture thing. but it-
So what that says is.
I can't do the sign.
I know, it was just really tiny.
Yeah.
Well, which one do you want? I got.
It's a saucer magnolia, whatever.
There
that
it is,
is.
yeah.
It was a saucer magnet.
You,
They can get
yeah.
pretty tall
The other way.
after 30 years.
AME service
About
area.
that tall for about 10 years.
Yeah.
Walking the line of sight.
What we can
Yep.
do, we can adjust, to make sure that the height on those things, obviously.
It's already difficult to turn out of Lincoln Avenue.
Can't block the
Right,
view of the
Michelle?
people coming in.
right,
Yeah.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
yeah, I think everything that you all presented at the EDC meeting for those cutouts in there, and those streets were very, very low.
Yeah, service areas, as I recall, are, was pretty.
One of them's a
Spiny.
dogwood,
Mhm.
one of them's a magnolia, and the other one is an autumn brilliance service berry.
That's the one that's AME.
That's the AMEGRA.
Yeah.
And then I know dogwoods, I have one in my front yard and it's been growing for 31 years. And it's taller than me now. I know it takes a while, but they do get high enough that they could obstruct.
Do you have dogwoods in any of those corners?
Is that the one with the X's on ROSBFD.
It's the CORKOU. Code for dog roads.
So I have to go back to the picture here and see if I can blow it up.
That could be good.
I don't see that one. That lake and drawing.
You're looking at the Schaefer Park location.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really
I
dull.
don't see
So
it.
that's like right next to the laundromat,
Yeah.
that one tree you're talking about
I'm
specifically.
trying to find the ones on Lake.
They're right under the park drive one.
Yeah, so that's the service ferry and.
Did the park board, work with you guys on the Schaefer Park location when
No.
they were supposed to?
Here's the.
On our, oh, there it is. Lily turf, oh, that's a low growing one.
Lake.
Flower grass.
No, you're looking.
No, I
at
think
these
they-
trees right here.
The tallest things
That's
are
an AMEGRA. I forget what I said that.
Your
was.
tallest ones are down.
service berry, those,
Okay,
the
so that's
red,
the service berry and that
the red
is
bush.
the same here.
Yeah, I don't see
And
any
then-
trees on those.
And then the other ones are, did you say that was? There's
That
three.
lily turf. that's
Okay.
what's-
I didn't look at that code and that's, okay.
So did Greg from Public Works look at this at all, like, because I guess the town guys are gonna be going to have to, you know what I mean, maintain them. I think, like, normally the grass, you gotta cut it down at the end of the summer.
He saw this, he was involved in this when we first met. But he's, I don't think he's seen this yet because we were still trying to.
But the first thing that you're gonna work on first is the gravel.
Mhm. That would be our goal, and we feel that's the priority.
Left here.
Okay. And what you need from us, our blessings that you can go ahead, so you can go after your funding for that.
Well, we have to go back to FSA, ask them to make the changes, and then give us the final document so that we have that
Okay,
to pursue the funding.
okay. So,
Basically, if you're okay with these changes, then we will be okay to just talk to Dave Sparrow, just to get the, we'll, before any planting happens.
Yeah.
We'll decide, we'll talk to State Highway, but this is just to get the final draft done,
okay.
so we have a final plan.
Well, back in April, the time it was at one of our meetings, park board meetings, and it says there, the park board will be included in the design, plan choices, and placement of beautification projects at the entrance to the park, in the park.
I don't think they've seen this.
No,
I know there's one
we've had it.
concern was about trees on Main Street, and those are not in. That wasn't our,
So all the trees on Main Street have been taken off.
that was never in our plan. We didn't get
That's
those,
somebody
we didn't get that.
else.
that wasn't our commission that got the trees approved, so we didn't include
It's,
So
it's
I
better.
just pulled up, I Googled this autumn
that. Service berry?
service berry tree and it gets 15 to 25 feet high.
That's not good.
It's on Google, it's gotta be right. I'm just, I just wanna know what we're getting into.
Yeah.
Rather go these trees, why don't we set, what limit do we think is a reasonable limit for a tree? And then we'll approve it, you know, so-
Well, again, I think state highway has to have some input.
Right, well, yeah.
Some of what can be done, because, like I said, I'm just concerned, first off, I want to make sure we're notifying the property owners that to make sure they're on board, because if they're not on board, I'm not gonna be on board with planting stuff in front of their house that they don't want there, that needs upkept and taken care of, you know what I mean? So. that
Jeff
would be-
Davidson on the park board is really, knows a lot about
Yeah.
trees, so
Yeah.
maybe you get his input on
Yeah, that was the reason why they wanted to get involved.
Yeah.
I'm okay with whatever she wants to do with the roundabout. I mean, the state highway's gonna have to
Yeah.
do that
State
anyway.
highway approves it.
I mean, the other stuff you all might wanna have other people looking, just check it, but I'm okay with that.
And then I think it sounds like the park board would like to at least, you know, what I mean,
Yeah.
okay, what's there before we put that part.
Terry, you want to make a motion? Yeah.
I'll make a motion that she can go forward with the roundabout plans.
I have a question about the roundabout plan.
Okay.
Is there,
Okay.
maybe I'm missing this one, Terry. So you're changing the layout of the sign to be two-sided.
Yeah, like a kind of like a V
Like a
shape,
V or-
a very wide V.
Okay.
Something
Like
like
a red line.
seen from both.
So you can see
So
it
I
from one
was
to the
wondering
other.
why they didn't want it in the middle. If you want to see it in both ways.
I think that was a height thing,
Okay, well, I just wondered.
because,
Traffic, well, you'd have to throw them up in front of it
Yeah.
too.
That's a big round.
yeah,
Well, if you want to try to see it from both sides, you know.
so what,
Well, it's not front and back, it's
Right.
side and side
Oh,
like a
okay.
V. So when you're coming up Morrisville Road, you kind of see, when you're coming down South Mountain, you kind of see, it's kind of
It's hard to see that
Andrew Road
red
from
line,
the two
right?
outside.
When you're
It's
coming
hard
out
to
of.
see an extra red line on there.
so the two approach roads you would see.
Yeah, so coming into town from.
If you leave
And I thought
town.
that's probably the intent, but I thought you wanted to see it from.
Well, on the back of it, as they leave town, you can say, have a nice day.
No, thank you for visiting.
Kick her off, I'll come back.
So I'd like to ask a clarification of the motion question. The motion that Terry put forward now is grant official permission to move forward on the roundabout portion, and where are we going to wait on the rest of the park board
Yes.
and
And homeowner.
homeowner information?
Yeah, and we really need to nail down these trees, the size, the height, the obstructions, and, yeah, there's a lot, these trees here, they're
That's-
big.
yeah.
So can I modify the motion a little bit? And second at the same time?
No.
Or just so we're clear,
You don't have to make
here's
it-
what I'm going to second. I'm going to second a motion that we permit EDC to move forward with the roundabout project, given it's approved by state highway. And we will review further with homeowner input and park board input on the rest of the plan. Is that
Okay, that's what I did.
what we're looking at?
That's what Terry said, you just didn't hear it.
I heard that. I heard it. Now I heard, she said, I make that motion. I'm clarifying what we're talking about. That's all.
I think we're gonna have to come back.
Yeah.
We should do that.
Okay,
The other
just clear.
Changes. like the park board.
That's fine.
Because it's gonna take a while.
Yeah.
State highway.
Yes.
I'm just clear.
Yeah. Top speed reverse.
Yes.
And I see the red lines now.
I know.
Okay, we got a motion and a second to grant them permission to move forward with the roundabout, along with the state highways specifications. And then they'll come back to us after they meet with the park board and the homeowners on the rest of the design.
How about, are we gonna get to look at what the sign looks like?
Yeah, that would be separate.
Now, once that's designed, yeah, we'll bring that back to us. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same, abstained, motion carried. Anything else, Terry?
No, not subject.
Yep.
Did you want to talk about the other
Yep.
PDC relationship?
You can go ahead, while you're here.
Let me grab this. So, discussion, I guess you'd call it.
I'm staying for this entire conversation. Ooh, I'm not gonna-
Was not really something I was aware of, but we had some business owners come from me last week. Very concerned, about obviously what's been going on Main Street and looking for information, like why don't we see anything happening, you know, what I came away with is that there's a lot of rumor out there. They don't know what the laws are. They don't know why. They don't see anything happening. They don't know what their rights are. they're just like anxious. And so what, I guess, what came out of it in the end is what can we do? And maybe we obviously can't, we don't want to address, we don't want to poke the snake and make it worse. But is there something we can do to give them some facts to say, this is what the state law is, this is what the town's feeling is, there are no permits required. Like, there's so much information out there that they don't really know what to believe. So we had a motion and approved it that the EDC would like to put some kind of document together that would just say, here's the facts, and here's some suggestions on what you should think about to prepare. If there's something happening in town, what do you say to your customers? What do you say to your employees? What kind of plan do you need, for your staff and yourself, should something happen, and so that's the feeling we're trying to acknowledge.
But I
the
would think that's
anxiety.
the individual business's responsibility to what they want to say to their employees.
Right,
Like, I don't
right.
think we should be saying,
No.
because what fits one business doesn't fit another, and we get ourselves in more behind that.
No, we don't want to tell them what to say, but we want to say,
Tell them to have an
you better
atmosphere
have,
night.
yeah, you
They're
better
in
have
life.
a conversation with your staff and an idea of how, you're gonna get out of your building or whatever, if something would happen. These are things that you need
I'm
to,
gonna jump in real quick, Sharon. I actually do think it will be beneficial for the town to put out the do's and don'ts list. We're not telling the businesses what to do, we're just guiding them on certain ways that we have learned as a town, legal ways, and I can't remember, I know Kim and I talked about this. In MML, for instance, we have something called the First Amendment auditors that come into towns to do something very similar. And they gave us a very good do's and don'ts list.
okay,
It's suggestions,
yeah,
don't obviously start an argument. Here's a few things you can do. And then I do think maybe just having a sentence or two on that of, we will run it by Ann, get a legal.
right, yeah.
To also let the businesses know that the town doesn't have a whole lot of legal responsibility in this. There's not much we can do as a town legally. And the businesses need to know that, I feel like, in a lot of ways they
Yeah.
don't. It's not that we're just not doing it.
The silence makes them more anxious.
So maybe not call it do's and don'ts, but maybe guidance or
Well, legit,
best practices or something
legit,
like that. we could
and
call it.
legit and MML sent out a notification to all municipalities, and they gave a list of items. There's these auditors that's going around since COVID, and they're going after towns. They come in with, the latest one in this area has been to Funkstown and Hagerstown's been hit, got dressed up as a bird. And he don't think him very genuine, now he don't speak. And he's just trying to aggravate you, to get you upset that they can go after you. And basically, you take the rules and regulations that legit and MML has given us for that, and you could almost change a couple words and give to businesses
Well, I'm all good
to
with that.
to notify them about things that you should do and things you shouldn't do, like, don't talk to him.
Right, just basically don't engage.
Don't engage. If he comes up, looks in your window, don't do any gestures at him or anything, so he doesn't all start filming your employees inside, things like that. And so I think I agree with Jared. I think it'd be an excellent idea that, and not mail. Don't put it on an email because he has access to email, hand delivery.
Yeah, even
And
members
take around.
of our commission would help
Yeah.
to take those out. I mean, they said that, so, it's a matter of just acknowledging, and what can we say to get them some kind of
Encouragement, yeah.
concrete,
The
something.
things
Each stay on,
The
stay on
things-
Facebook.
Well,
The
yeah,
things,
there too.
yeah, that was brought up too.
And I'm just,
But it got very disturbing, some of the things that they were saying about the town. we wasn't supporting, we wasn't there for them, and that's not true. We want to see all our businesses succeed. Unfortunately, it's aimed at other people, one other person, and we don't have control over that. And legally, we, and Kevin will tell you, their hands are tied. Unless they're blocking traffic or harassing people, they can't do anything to them either.
And I would let the citizens know
Yeah.
that these towns, these businesses do have options. We have a police department. If someone is blocking free passage, consult with the police department. We'll be here. You know, that you don't have to surrender. There are things that they can and can't do. One of them is you can't disturb your business. You can't block your business. But there are things you can and can't do. And I'm completely for that. And that's a very easy thing for us to put out. My only issue is disregard.
Yeah, I think anything that tells them what their rights are, and you strongly suggest what you should not do.
Yeah.
Engage.
So,
And we have an example of what aggravates it even more is when he was down here on a Thursday night, the people from the motels, the water. Now, what did that accomplish?
Yeah.
It just made it worse.
Yeah.
It just makes it want to come back more and more and more. And I mean, if you just
He
ignore it,
actually stayed another hour or two longer.
yeah, if you just ignore it, it would stop. I even thought about directing traffic around for Saturday. I wouldn't be able to do it Sunday because of the food truck.
Yeah.
But as soon as I do that, all you want to do is just move to the side.
Yeah.
He's gonna come again.
Yeah, and
you know.
so that's,
He wins.
right, exactly.
And then it
We
gets
don't
off
want that.
traffic for businesses too. So.
Or I've seen it on YouTube where it's supposed to be in Canada and he won't be down here.
Well, that's fine.
good.
Well, that would be a plus for us.
It would be fantastic.
Mr. Porter, if you're listening, I'm being nice about it.
I doubt he's listening. There's probably nobody listening.
Well, I get it, it's frustrating because
People come up to us and say, won't you do something about Bulgaria? 30 years ago, I could.
I know.
But today you can't.
It's just ridiculous that you can be that ignorant, you can be that vulgar, you can be that rude. And we have to sit here and say, we just have to let you behave like an idiot until you leave. And it's frustrating.
Right.
The last time he was here, he left here and went to the dual highway with the same
Yeah,
sign,
with the pink sign.
Same group.
same group.
So,
I would speak with the towns, letting them know that this is not the only town.
Yeah.
It's not a cool place to live, nor is it going to impact those, figure of our community for short term. There have been dozens of communities he's done this with, so we're not allowing it. He knows what he's doing and can and can't do.
Do I have a motion to give Jared permission to draw up do's and don'ts, and we'll hand them out to the businesses?
Probably call it guidance.
Guide.
Yeah,
We'll
yeah.
call it guide.
Yeah, because I think if you say do's and don'ts. then-
A support letter to businesses regarding.
Something, guidance for how to. But yeah, absolutely.
Guidance is a lot better than
Guide.
Yeah.
rules.
so I'll make a motion that we draft a letter of guidance to the businesses based on legit MML and our attorney's approval.
Law enforcement staff.
Well, yeah.
We follow what the attorney said.
I'll revise that request for a letter, but I sent it out. I'll revise that to a handout.
I mean, just businesses, museums, churches,
Sure.
not just.
Well, actually, you consider churches that are a business nowadays,
Right.
everybody. Sounds good.
I'll second that motion.
Have a motion and a second. Everybody know what you're voting on? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Abstain. Motion carries. Thank you all. Anything else, Terry? Good luck at the fair.
No, thank you.
Where are you going, Jerry?
Now take care.
Bring home another big trophy.
Taking the cows.
Yeah.
She's not taking the money. She's taking the cow.
He stays with
Prettiest
those
prettiest
cows.
cows in the state. It was crap.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Hopefully, hopefully we'll see you on the news
Take care.
Oh,
at the
well,
Grand
I'll
Champion.
see you all Sunday.
Oh, yeah, that is something.
Okay, let's update on the National Road Museum.
Floor is yours.
There you go. There you go. Get comfy.
It should be nice and warm here. It's warm.
Well, first of all, thank you all for the time here. Certainly appreciate it. A couple of weeks ago, Jared and the mayor has had a meeting concerning the National Road Museum. On the previous, I think the meeting that we had here, you know, we were at a crossroads. We needed help. And Jared asked if we could come up with a concrete plan of opening the museum and what we needed, help from the town, and what we're going to do and what the steps were. So we put this project plan together. I think everybody has a copy of this. And I guess the second page is the project part. And I think that puts most everything in order as to priorities and what the town can help us with at the moment, at this particular time in our plan. And also the separate page also has a timeline. It's the steps that we're anticipating on taking here. And I don't know if you all had a chance to look at this, John.
Just got it.
Yeah.
Just got it, yeah. But that'll give you a preliminary timeline of the steps that we're taking to actually open the doors of the museum, you know, to the public. Now, this is phase one of the museum, which is going to consist of mostly images. We'll have some objects, and also we'll have some complete exhibits, you know, with everything that's supposed to be in this exhibits with the AVs. We'll have the all the objects there. Then other exhibits will just have the image and some references. And when we feel that the plan that we have, the money that we have, that we can do this.
And it may be for some clarification, based on this timeline that you have here. All these things, obviously, you don't need direct help from the town.
No.
We talked about, so maybe you can just go through a couple of things that you will need, that we talked about at our last meeting,
Yeah.
that you would need direct help from the town.
Well, the two really most important things right now, going into this to, as far as the steps go, is the restrooms down at the museum. I think there was a grant that was, that the town received for, I think, $75,000. And that's to help with the restroom improvements. And if you would go to, actually page 2 on there, it would kind of explain that town of Emmitsburg would create and issue a request for proposal as required by the Maryland Economic Development Fund agreement towards the modification and upgrade of the current restrooms into higher capacity restrooms in addition of an ADA compliant restroom there. Of course, the mayor and council will review and award the winning bid. Right now, there's 2 restrooms down there. We bring bus loads of people in. 2 restrooms just will not cut it. We need additional restrooms and we need updated restrooms down there, you know, museum. So we had some, 2 plans that we've had in the mix for, several years. And I'm sure one of those plans would be sufficient for what's needed.
I think it's important to note too that this museum is the only one that will have public restrooms that can be used by the public when buses come and they want to tour all the different museums. Most of the other museums do not have a public restroom. So it's really important to get this phase of the project completed.
You're talking about here in town, correct?
Yeah, here in town.
So you have two current,
We have two currently.
but you're saying that's not sufficient. So what's the number that you're going to install?
It would be, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. Four bathrooms. We have two, I didn't bring the drawing. We have two, full handicap. And the other two, we need to install like 2 stalls into each one. Right now, we have 1 stall in each one of the bathrooms we have. So we put 2 stalls in each of the current bathrooms. And then we have, on the other side of the building, across the way, we can put 2 handicap bathrooms in there.
So you have the space.
We have the space, yes, yes.
So you're looking for a total of 4, 2 of them handicap accessible.
Yes.
One question I have about that, how do handicap get into that building? Because it's a step, isn't it?
Each grade level.
It's ground.
So this is not the trolley, this is the museum.
Oh, yeah.
This is the old word, that's the
I know.
museum.
I just felt like there was a step.
No, well, it was.
There used to be.
There used to be a step there. And what
It's a
we
ramp.
did, we have a ramp from the sidewalk right into the doorstop.
Okay.
So wheelchairs will be able to get in there.
That's the biggest thing. Or that's the meet ADA.
Yes, it
Compliance
is.
anyways.
Well, this is ADA
Right.
compliance. We make sure that, that is.
So did we receive that funding yet, Kim? That grant money, have you seen that? Or is that, I heard something about $75,000 grant.
I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, I know we do have some rural Maryland grant funding currently.
Okay.
And if I'm not mistaken, that is the grant funding that it's not reimbursable. You get a chunk. You get the full. reimbursement.
Okay.
And so I know we have this funding. Was it specified for this particular project? Apparently it was, though. So just assuming it was for a second, I do think they moved with the writing the RFP, hiring process, and maybe some project management, which I said we were.
Well,
Yeah,
building.
Yeah,
Yeah, I have no problem.
yeah, so I'll obviously before we move forward, make sure we have some money was set aside already for that. But, my understanding, talking to them,
I know when we did the budget, I didn't remember seeing that, and I don't remember seeing that money set aside, so we need to find that number one. And then the other thing is that this is what's so important to me, and I guess Eric will probably chime in with this, that's why we need to have these Excel sheets. That lay out these projects, what the projects entail, what the cost of the projects are, where the funding's coming from, what money we've gotten in so far, so that we can keep track of this, because this, we've got big projects. I mean, this is a big one, but this is still a big
Yeah,
project.
it's still a project.
Yeah.
For us, it's a big one. We're working on having an Excel spreadsheet as well to track our.
So
funds
it's
and
just
grants
so,
and things
so
like
important that we can track all these activities.
and that is something I am currently doing. There are a few projects. I am starting on the big ones first.
Well, I-
Watering press, I finished
Yeah,
one
yeah,
for that. So I am starting on the bigger ones. Yeah, all these grant funding projects.
But I feel that, we should certainly be hand in hand with this, running the RFP, helping to oversee the project, making sure that it gets done correctly, helping the museum move along, and to get you guys up and running. It's been a long process.
It is.
So,
Very long process. But we're at the point right now.
I'm starting to see light.
I'm starting to see that. And well, with your help, because the maintenance was filling this, and of course, Potomac Edison was filling this.
Well, that was my other question I was gonna bring up, and you got finished.
Yeah.
Did we get that resolved yet?
No, not that I'm aware of. We've, We've had a couple of weeks of credit, and then credit went away, and we got billed. That's it. So nothing else.
I did reach back out to them. I got the same email you did. Did reach back out to them again, trying to find the right. Half the tough part in working with potential medicines, finding. And so that's currently what I'm trying. The email back to their email that we got, I actually did receive it already back. But I'm trying to find the right person. I just want it all documented, so we can find the right person. We have all this.
Yes. For everything I received from Phoebe, I sent to Kim. First Kim,
Yeah, she does.
forwards it to you.
Can I make a suggestion? Just stop paying the electric bill.
We have.
I'm serious. I am dead serious. Just stop paying the electric bill and let them come out. Because they need a wake-up call. They need a wake-up call.
Well.
Yeah, but you gotta make sure
Well,
cold weather coming, then you got, busted pipe, and then you know, issues.
When they come out to shut it down.
right.
Yeah. But, no, we haven't paid anything since.
Good.
No, because I'm not sure who's paying. Because we were paying, your electric bills.
And we were paying them too.
And you were paying them also. So it was double pay there. And,
And we, to this day, we don't know who was paying for your bill.
right, we
I
had
know
no,
it.
nobody knows who's paying for the building down there. We thought we were paying for our building. But yeah, we were paying for the towns, two of the town's meters. And then they continued building them, of course. So they were getting double pay.
Well, no, we don't. It's just gotta be an assistant, if you have to come every day and you're paying them their side, you know.
It sounds like your first step is to, get the RFP out there for the restrooms.
Yes.
And you said you do have plans for 2 different types, but the one you're really.
I do have two plans, but that's something, I go with Jerry. And to make sure that we have the right one, because we want to do it one time.
Right.
Yeah.
And we have the space down there to expand. But we want to expand correctly the first time. So we don't have to come back in to do it.
Well, I have a restroom question.
Oh, sure.
And I hate to ask this.
Oh, no.
Oh, that-
I know what he's
I know
saying
what you're gonna say.
I just visited my former place of employment, and they've transitioned all the bathrooms, now they're all gender neutral. Is there any consideration, and what's the law in Maryland? Maybe you don't need 4, maybe you only need 3, or, because what they did at work, they had 2 men's and 2 women's, and now all 4 of them are gender neutral.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that's the discussion we have to have in today's
Oh,
world.
they're gonna definitely need to,
Well, we don't want to do something and then find out it's incorrect and have to redo it, is only.
Well, that's something, to be honest with you, that we need to consider when we do these.
Well, that's the only reason I'm all over.
Well, I'm glad you did, because unfortunately, in this day and age, we have to be careful. And there's a lot of places going gender free.
Especially if you're talking about buses and.
Yeah,
Right,
exactly.
but you don't know what's coming.
No.
So you're just gonna have 4 restrooms.
There you
And
go.
I think you're talking about 6 altogether, right?
Yeah.
2 handicap
Mhm.
and then
And then
2 more,
two
two
the other.
stalls, 2 stalls, so you got 6 facilities.
So,
right,
so
one at a time.
basically,
Right, so they toilets, yeah.
if we go to gender,
Yeah, that's whatever you.
unisex, or whatever you would call that.
Gender neutral, whatever.
Gender neutral, okay, then there's you have to do a new plan.
Right.
And,
Because right now you have men's
and then,
and ladies that you can put 2 and 2
yes.
Right.
at a time.
Just say restroom.
And we just, yeah,
Right,
and we say.
We say for office, say
And
first
make them
over.
stalls, make them all stalls,
right.
and we can put maybe 5 across
So
the,
no urinals, all toilets.
all toilets. No.
And you can, I was in a church recently and theirs were marked, with both the signs and then they had a lock on the door. But they only had one toilet in it. So, there's ways to do it.
Yes.
We'll
I'm
talk
sure.
about it. We'll make sure everything's legal. If
Yeah.
it's legally, if you don't legally.
Yeah.
If it's not water,
Now, the other things that we are is we're doing electrical and lighting planning there for the museum and actually for the exhibits themselves. We're doing a fundraising and revenue plan also. We don't have that fundraising plan in place right now, but we've been talking about it and we're going to be meeting very shortly about that, put that in place. So we can start that now, sooner than later, because we want to start it before, in the next month or so, before the end of the year, because a lot of people like to give, so they have the tax deduction.
Especially for Bloomsburg days coming up.
Yeah, I can't do it that fast. But that's a good idea. And also, the reason we are going to have a fundraising, of course, is for the museum, for expenses, for things like that, but also for additional improvements in the building itself. Because there's things that we have to do in there, other than the things the town would be able to take care of. I'm not talking about cutting the grass and repairing anything, but we have to get things ready for the exhibits themselves. So,
So that's on like page 3, right?
Yeah.
The exterior repair.
Yes.
The stats and the brand.
well, now, yeah,
Actually, bottom of page 2.
at the bottom of page 2 is what I'm talking about, the interior.
Oh, the additional.
Lighting,
Yeah,
lighting.
That's something you guys are doing.
yeah, we're doing that. Then on page 3, yes, I requested that the town can help us, in these areas here. And of course, we're going to eventually have a paid staff when we open. Paid staff is a person. And, but most of everything will be volunteers. We'll have an operations plan. We'll take care of all that and everything. And then we'll have the phase 1 of the exhibits installed. Which we already have. We already have defined what they're going to install. And then there's a welcome center component on page 4 that we're doing in conjunction, in partnership with the Boonesboro EDC, where actually Boonesboro had a welcome center right there in the front of our museum. That's inside, by the way. And that would just be, such a good partnership and such a good thing for all of us. We're also will recruit and begin training volunteers this winter, and so everybody gets a good high quality visitor experience when they do come to the museum. And now we can go to the actual chart here that we've got the timeline. Right. That pretty much puts everything in perspective, providing everything goes as it should. And we've got some leeway in there also for that. As you see, the restrooms, hopefully they'll be done by spring of next year. Could be sooner, could be later, The other, the building improvements, renovations inside, and the electrical improvements, that should be done about the same time. Then we start the fabrication, and then summer, close to fall, the exhibit installation. then it's the visitor center, as you see, starts in winter of 23, summer of 24. We don't know what those components are right now. It's something we'd be working with EDC. Then we're going to formalize all the operating, fundraising policies, all the things that you need to be able to run a business. And things are required by museums also. And then the repairs is sort of like an ongoing thing. When the town has time and able to do that, like the fire exits are, some of them are rotten, the rails are gone, rotted through. Over at the trolley station, there's still some boards, and it's not a big job, but it's a job that needs to be done, especially for safety also. And that'll be an ongoing thing there. And paid staff, we're going to start in spring of next year for that, for applications and hire somebody full-time down at the museum. And of course, the recruitment and training the volunteers, that will be an ongoing thing. That'll be an ongoing thing all the time. And then the scheduling of the people, of the volunteers to be there, both at the National Road Museum and at the trolley station. And right now, we're pretty lucky because Reuben Moss is basically managing that. And if you recall from the other meeting, he put in like 324 hours, something like that. 340, I think it was. Yeah, 40 some hours volunteer time to get that in shape, so it's a good experience when you go there now. Because previously, it was very nice. You saw the pictures, you saw this and the images like that, but now it's a total great experience than what it was before. And if you get a chance to go down and see that, I think you'll enjoy that. Also, you'll learn a lot too. And Reuben knows a lot. So he'll be able to fill you in and help you through that.
And it will be open during Boonesboro Days.
Oh, okay, good. Good. So if you're there, get a chance to go in, I think you'll enjoy it. And then it comes to the opening status. We'll be having marketing, sure, the media, social media, newspapers, everything knows that, yes, we are opening, and here's the date that we're opening. So that's the big, the timeline that we have, and we do have the money for the exhibits. So, and even though we don't have money for expenses and operating expenses, we got down to that and crossroads, we still have that money in there. But that money is restricted only. So we can't take, a few dollars here to do this and a few dollars to do that, because when you apply for a grant,
Right.
and that's what you have to go by. Of course, as you all know, you can't use it for something else to stay alive on something like that. So, and the others, I would think with everything in the town here, helping us out, supporting us and everything. And I think anytime you can make that public, I think that would be a good idea. That would help us tremendously if the town, when you have a chance to make a formal statement that you're supporting the National Road Museum in Boonesboro, because one of the things when you go for money, whether it's a donor or whether it's a grant, they'll say, what's the town think? Is the town supporting you in any way? And that's a big, big thing. So we appreciate anything you can do for us in that aspect.
You always reach out to us for a letter of support also.
Yes. And we actually, when we've done that in the past, we certainly will take advantage of that in the future here, because that's one thing, But the big thing is where it gets, other people read is in the newspaper. And, so we would appreciate anything that you could do on that portion of that.
I don't know about our newspaper now.
Yeah.
No,
Years ago, we
Yeah.
used to have a good newspaper. that
Yeah.
took care of everything.
Better coverage in the Frederick.
much,
Yes.
much better than. Yeah. Read it online.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes you see that, And I know our donors and the local people that, the grant people, they look at the local papers to see, so. So anything you can do would be much appreciated.
Good job.
Any more questions?
I appreciate this format.
Looks like you got a lot of thought process on paper, and I think you got a plan to move forward with, and we're willing to help.
Well, that's great. I am so glad to hear that.
Tonight to do the RFP for reference, but why did we have to work?
I mean, we can, we can wait and make sure that we get all of our ducks in a row by the meeting next month. Well,
It's not the 18th, but I was just saying that's like, oh,
Yeah, no, it doesn't. So not with this, if we already have concept plan done. So yeah, I'd like to move forward.
So,
I will make a motion to move forward with the RFP for the restrooms for the National Road Museum, based on the great calls back.
there you go. We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those the same, abstaining.
Look at that.
Do we want to make a motion that we move ahead with the town doing repair? It looks like we got 41,000 and change in our contingent budget.
Yeah, I think we
So
should.
I'll make a motion that,
Well, Jack, before you do that real quickly, some of the repairs can be done by Gray.
that's right. I'm just gonna say, we're gonna do that.
But on top of that,
Okay.
some of the bigger ones, I'm actually gonna look into possibly using some of our community legacy funding for our facade improvement.
Oh, okay, that's a good idea. So that's.
Right.
Yeah, the building, we can
Gotcha.
use-
I was
facade.
gonna, the awning down there, I think it's gonna be a bigger repair than what Greg just said.
We
We get three,
Yes.
they'll give us three.
So right now, we currently have a cap of 3,000.
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna remove that cap from here on out. I don't know why we put $3,000.
Oh, I thought that was
To be honest with you.
something that had to be on there.
Well, I think the original thought was so that more people would take advantage
I
of
get
it.
it.
And if we're not getting the response that they anticipated, then I agree, we can
That's
do
a
it.
good idea.
Yeah.
Good idea.
So, and of course, we'll let people know. We actually apply for additional site improvement funding as well, where they will also get much.
So if you want to make your motion,
That the town, like, how do you want me to say the motion then, that the town
Town can do the
proceed with
repairs.
doing the exterior repairs based on
Funding from our
funding from
facade.
our facade grant and, our contingency budget.
yeah, I mean, and
We'll let the
utilize,
town manager come back and.
yeah, utilize our town employees, our town staff, where we can. Yeah,
Think I have a second.
I'll second.
Very lengthy motion.
Yeah.
All right. We have a motion and a second to proceed with our town employees side grant and the repairs. Any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same, abstaining, motion carries.
How are you fit for your exhibition, that you need? How are you still? So, how are you with your exhibits? You secured all the exhibits that you want?
Yes, all these exhibits have been schematics completed. We have a few, one or two, large ones that we need to make modifications on. But basically, we know what they are. We have a cost for each one. It's not like we just had a meeting, last Tuesday about this, just to confirm everything. Whether that exhibit's going to be a permanent exhibit or it's going to be a temporary exhibit. Now, the temporary, that means, we're going to use less costly materials. And when we do the second phase, or when we get enough money between now and the time of application, that we can raise some money, then we can make that permanent also.
For example,
Permanent means we
the
don't-
transportation exhibit.
Yes.
Big ticket item
It's a big thing.
that we would need additional funding for, but we can modify it, you know, to do it in phase one for what we have.
2 years ago, I offered up my 1929 Model A. along from the school, but so-
That's not a trolley. That's not a trolley. It's a trolley station.
That front of the attention where somebody would stop, like, go to the museum. and show
It's
you.
on, National Road, which drove up and down National.
Yeah. Just,
So-
you know, thinking.
The,
But I'm talking about the transportation within the building.
the cutout in the side yard there,
Scale.
where the scales used to be, what's gonna happen with that?
That's your question.
The scale, as you may have noticed, looks like Greg filled it with some mulch for now, so we don't have that caution tape.
Okay.
The long-term plan for that is to bend the damaged part back into shape, put planks back in so it appears like it did when it was a scale, a remnant of Warren Phelps and the development of the roads. That was the original location where the trolley track had been, and Warren Phelps actually removed the track to put the scale in.
Okay,
So that, the scale is going to stay.
okay.
The area between the buildings will eventually, there will eventually be a plan developed to make that into more of a garden with plants, maybe a couple small trees. In front of the trolley station where the gravel is, that we actually have 2 original trolley rails, and recently got a donation from the National Railway Historical Society to get the rest of the supplies to put the rails in place where there used to be trolley track. Just for about a 10-foot section, so people can see where the track was. And the rest of the front from the scale forward, I know there are a few landscaping plans that probably be part of phase 2 for some outdoor exhibits showing different types of road material, things like that. And potentially someday uncovering the trolley siding that's still buried under the ground there. So people can see at least a few feet of that still intact with sort of a glass floor type arrangement. But that's down the road in the long term. There are also plans down the road, once we get the National Road Museum open, and we can start approaching some of our donors that have said, once you're open, come back to us, to make the trolley station ADA compliant with a ramp, probably off the back of the porch. That way we can have full ADA compliance in both museums. And if it ever became available, and it would be a much bigger project than I think most people realize, but if it became available and we were stable, there is room to potentially move one of the surviving trolleys next to the station as well. But that would be a highly expensive project. Yeah. But there are 2 that potentially could become available at some point in the next decade or 2.
I'll just say, keep in mind, I just served on the gaming commission, let me say, when they do grants, so that's, like, next spring, you can apply again, like specific projects, like your handicap grant, or things like that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Apply for those grants, you might get something.
The primary focus, of course, has been getting the National Road open.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is definitely something we want to make a priority once the National Road Museum is open, is getting that handicap ramp, doing some more of the
Because
exterior.
things like that, you know, came before the gaming commission like that.
Always gotta keep your hand in the pot.
Yeah.
Always gotta keep your hand in the pot.
Now, we're looking at different grants to apply for. Don't worry, even though we're gonna be opening, we let that money, we like to add to that money. And that will be an ongoing thing. But the main focus right now is to phase 1, get the doors open, then get all the bells and whistles. We'll have some bells, not any whistles.
got a good plan.
Well, we do have a bell and a whistle in the trolley stall.
Very good.
Thank you very much. Well, thank you. Appreciate your time and thank you all for your support and help. And, we're on our way.
There you go.
Thank you all.
You're welcome.
Update from Mako conference. Jared? Kevin?
Jared?
Yeah, well, I thought.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
This is my first trip to Mako. I found it to be very beneficial. Specifically to me, to be honest, I liked a lot of the classes better than ML. But I met a lot more people at Mako. Got to socialize with a lot more people. Got to, as you know, I was there with on a mission. I'm trying to find some possibilities for this funding. So I guess I was a lot more focused at Mako, I would say. But honestly, and Tony and I both went to quite a few of the same events. And I do, some were better than others for sure, but I do feel like we were able to get Boonesboro's names out there to quite a few different people. We did meet with Roger while we were there, so Roger talks to some people on behalf. MRDC, a member of MRDC was there and kind of talked to a few different individuals on our behalf. So I do truly believe it was beneficial for us.
And I'll just go along with that. Very good conference, numerous conversations with a lot of decision makers, including senior members of the governor's cabinet, lawmakers and staff. Nothing has been set in stone. I mean, this is just a networking event, but we laid a lot of good foundation to get the better grants and hopefully appropriations when things are coming along. Personally, I spoke with Secretary McElwee with MDE twice. Met her at one of the treasurer's events, Treasurer Davis event. And then there was another event that Roger and I were at together as well, and got a chance to speak with her a second time. I spoke with the Maryland Energy Administrator, Joanna Freeman. I spoke with Alyssa Hastings from Chris Van Hall's office, Robin Summerfield from Ben Cardin's office, Leslie Knapp Jr. from the senior advisor for MDE. And I made sure I stopped by all three of the senators' booths at the conference itself. I mean, there's all kinds of crazy, I mean, every county is represented there. So you got to walk through all these different booths, but they had all the senators all the way in the very back. So I made sure I went to Trone's booth, I went to Van Hollen's booth, I went to Cardin's booth. I was throwing my cards at everybody, speaking on behalf of the town's reservoir deficit, that $5 million that we lost. I personally thank all three of the senators' staff at their booths for everything they've done for us, but we're still on hold here. So, good conference. I liked MML this year. It was the first time I ever went, so it's a little bit different for me. Mako got off to a slow start for me, but it was a strong finish. So,
At Trone's booth, was Sunny there?
No, I did not see Sunny.
You would have recognized Sunny if you saw Sunny.
I'll take
I
my.
gotta thank you for going to Mako and I didn't go.
I did go.
Yeah, okay.
Well, I had my card out while I was down there.
I haven't.
I think everybody got one. I was like,
This one company sent me a thank you for talking to them. There, and I didn't have the heart to send back. I'm sorry, but I didn't make it this year.
But I'll tell you, the one thing that I was the most disappointed with is that I found out 2 days into the conference, and I don't know if Jared found this out or not, that you can ride the drunk bus for free. With pass.
You didn't know that?
MML, you can too. I know Jared.
And that's,
The parking down there is insane.
Mako and MML, as long as you have your badge on.
Nobody's ever
Sunday
told me
through
that.
Wednesday, you can ride the bus for
So
free.
you can ride the Ocean City bus.
Should be a whole new experience for Tony next year.
Well, it's gonna be a whole new experience because I'm gonna leave my car wherever I'm staying. I'm just gonna ride the bus. That was like,
MML might be a little hard next year. because it'll be early and we're going senior week and there's kids packed the buses.
Well, that was like for Friday night, especially, that was like a mess.
Yes.
Because I left my car up on 141st Street and we rode the bus down and we rode the bus out.
As long as you have your badge on,
Yep.
yep, it's free of charge, both
That was-
events.
Wow. So yeah, it was fun.
Okay, thank you all.
Thank you.
Park board members, we have a reappointment for Greg Solberg and Jeff Davison. Since these are temporary ones, we can do these in a workshop session. Reappointments for park board, I like to reappoint, if y'all don't mind doing it as a package, Greg Solberg and Jeff Davison.
Who's on the park board?
Yeah, I'll do it. I make the motion that we reappoint Greg Solberg and Jeff Davidson to the park board for their 4-year terms.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Abstain. Motion carries.
And the next one is to appoint a new park board member. Her name is Jamie Burton, and that too will be a 4-year term. So I make a motion to appoint Jamie Burton to the park board for a 4-year term.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to appoint Jamie Burton to the park board for a 4-year term. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Abstain. Motion carries. Then we have a request for donation from the Washington County Fire Police. My personal opinion, and I discussed this with Kim, the Green Fest swap and recycling event. They were down there for 20 man hours. I really think if we give them a donation, that'll all come out of the Green Fest budget. Make a donation, and of course, we have down there for the fireworks for 12 man hours. Now, they charge us $16 an hour, which is $192. But they like to use that as a suggestion, but we can donate whatever we want to them. And I had to scratch the parade because we already took, the auxiliary already took care of them on that. They have opportunity. They always had in the past, as long as the Legion fed them, that was their pay. And we're sorry, only 3 of their members showed up. The other 3, you missed out on lunch. The others.
Well, do we want to ask the Green Fest Committee if they would consider giving them a donation? Like, I don't think.
Do they have the money as a budget?
I mean, like, you know, because they're their own separate money, right? Don't they have their own? little-
They just have a budget? No, I don't think they have their own separate money.
Oh, yeah, they're not, the Green Fest doesn't come under our budget, right? Don't they have their own little money?
It's part of the environmental commission. I don't-
Yeah, I mean, I know that we did have a line item for them.
Yes.
I don't know if we still do.
Yeah, I thought.
Uh,
they were-
but they
It's a town
do.
Sponsored event.
Yeah, but I remember for some reason they had like their own little nonprofit and a checking account.
Mhm.
If I remember correctly. You know, maybe that stopped since they haven't been doing the full-fledged Green Fest.
Why don't we do the
Green Fest will get a big fat zero on the budget.
Yeah.
We take
There's nothing in the
They
budget
would
for
have
Green
to
Fest.
giving
Okay.
them, they, like, for some support.
So they must do their own.
Yeah. I mean, I want to give them money. I'm just saying, I think like it would be appropriate to forward a donation request to them as well, you know what I mean, for the fire police. Do we have to call it donation, or why don't we pay them their suggested
We can,
invoice?
whatever y'all would like. to
You know
do.
what I mean? Can we take that out of, I guess, you know, our events budget, like, you know, certain amounts of the fireworks and,
Well, we need an invoice and we could be taxed.
well, we got.
Well, yeah, it's right on, it's on the letter.
Because I mean, because our normal pass $100,
Consider
they're
it.
asking for more than that, which is a fair thing for the hours that they
Right, yeah, I
gave us,
agree.
so.
I think it's reasonable.
I was thinking just kind of pay the invoice and
Yeah.
You guys figure out where in the budget.
Yeah,
I mean,
I
get
think we
us
should.
under the July, you know what I mean, get it divvied up under July 4th.
I'm just thinking if it's a town sponsored event, whether it be called Green Fest, Swap and Recycle or whatever, if the town is, if it's gonna say town sponsored by the town of Boonesborough, I think that's who should pay. But if they do have their own checking account, then maybe you can ask them for something.
So how do you want to proceed?
What's the motion?
I'm not gonna vote on it though, because that's my brother-in-law. So I
Well,
won't
Okay,
vote.
then when we come up to vote this,
So what did they actually request?
they requested for the fireworks $192.
$192 for that, and then Green Fest.
$320 for the Green Fest.
Well, I'll make the motion for the 192 for the fireworks, and we take it out of the fireworks 4th of July budget, because that's a budgeted item.
Right, correct. I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second, take $192 out of the fireworks budget. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstain,
Staying.
motion carries with one abstention.
Okay, and then I'm fine, don't, paying the 320, but somebody needs to have a discussion here a little bit before motion of where do we want to see if Green Fest has?
I
the
think
funds
we
to do
should
it first,
ask Green Fest
or do
first.
we want to find a place out of the budget to take it?
It's $320.
I mean, it's not a
It's
huge
not a
thing.
huge
It's a town event.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree too.
I mean, we could,
Yeah, I'm okay.
we could just take it out of the donation line item, and that would just mean we would have less later on in the year,
We have a motion that count that pays $320 by Ricky. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same, abstain.
Staying.
Motion carries with one abstention.
Make sure you include that on our hotel motel forms.
Yeah.
That's all I have. Jared, do you have anything else?
Unless there's any questions about it. That's been talked about.
Just a reminder, you have upcoming events, concert in the park Wednesday night, August the 30th, at the United States Navy Country Current, third annual food truck festival on the 3rd. Town hall's closed on Monday, Labor Day. Everybody have a happy Labor Day. Boonesborough Day, coming up September 9th and 10th, so if you gotta go any place, go early or walk. 9/11 is remembrance parade here in town at 6:30.
yes.
6:30, parade start time.
I
I got
I have a favor for Vernon for the parade. You know how we bought the banner that goes up like in the park?
Yes.
He was wondering maybe we could put it on Friday afternoon, so it's up for the weekend, since people kind of already be here for Boonesborough Days, and give them a little exposure. Because otherwise it doesn't go up till Wednesday morning. I don't know, I just set it up. You know what I mean, like if they put Boonesborough Days up now, it's coming, so if they need to put
Okay.
Friday afternoon, put the 9/11 parade coming up, so maybe people would see the 9/11 parade. I don't know if they see it or not. but- And then I just need to get no parking signs for Justin and email.
Yes, I saw that.
I'll pick them up
Yes.
for him.
There's town hall.
So, Macy Schultz, the 8th grader at Boonesborough Middle School, she won gold medal in it's called the X Strut competition at the International Baton Twirling Federation's Nation Cup in Liverpool, England. Do we want to do something for her? I mean, do we want to give her some kind of a citation or something, or I don't know, I'm just asking.
Yeah, put up a memorial. put up
Well, I
a
didn't say
statue.
that.
I think we
I
should-
think she could be recognized.
I think she should be recognized.
World championship.
We can,
She is, she is
No,
a
I
champ-
think EDC put out for bids, this whole website thing. I mean, like, would it, like, human interest,
Yeah, I mean, I'm
like
just,
articles like that be
yeah, I
something
mean.
to put on our
yeah,
local website, like,
I'm
who's
just-
a resident or something?
Yeah.
maybe?
I'm just asking if y'all want to consider.
we could invite her
I
to the
think-
next mayor and council meeting and officially,
Where does she live?
next to the yellow house.
Doesn't she live right outside the yellow house, like town water, but not in
Yeah,
the
not in
town?
town, but.
They have all the pretty Christmas lights.
The house is decorated.
Oh, it's right in there.
It's Kurt
Yeah.
Conway.
I don't know who she is, I can't.
I don't know, I just thought maybe that might be something.
It might be nice, it's a piece of paper.
Yeah.
Uh,
And just to
Doesn't cost
recognize
us
her.
anything.
Yeah,
But again, I still think in like, things like that might be fun things to put on the
Exactly.
website or something.
Make a proclamation.
yeah. Okay, the second thing is, we talked about a little bit earlier, my church, Trinity Lutheran Church, just installed, they're called Carillon chimes.
Carolyn.
Well, some people are saying Carillon.
Baker
some
Park
people-
has a Carolyn.
Okay, some people say Carillon, some people say Carillon, but they're a unique chime system that we just installed in our bell tower. They
I
just,
heard one installed, I heard it was just repaired.
Yeah.
So that's cool.
I go to that church, I'm telling you. they
So
were
the bell church told me that.
Something.
We still have the old bell that you can pull the rope, but this is an electronic chime system that rings right now every day at noon, and it's 6. And it's supposed to be at 10:15, which I didn't hear it this past Sunday, but in church you can't probably hear it sometimes. I don't know. But anyway, we're invited to Trinity Lutheran Church on September the 24th, and they're going to do a dedication, and they wanted to know if anybody else from the town other than myself would like to attend. So it's an open invitation for September the 24th at 10:15 service.
It would be.
Oh, that's me on Sunday.
He's great, huh?
Dude.
Definitely go on a Sunday.
Right, sleep through. So it's not-
You don't have, I really, actually, I would like to have them wear our town shirts or something, so they
Remind me of that.
know who we are. And then I got a couple other things, but I'll keep that for the. Well,
Let's do that.
well, I don't know what the update was, because I haven't been here, but the update on the camper on St. Paul, living in the backyard, the update on the subdivision.
I think you would be.
No,
Okay,
it's still there.
Oh, is it?
I mean, did we send a letter, did we give them the timeline?
Yes, we sound like.
Yep, there's-
All right,
We
update on,
give them 30 days.
Okay. Update on St. Paul subdivision. Anything new going on up there?
There is a big dumpster up there.
Oh, good.
They received the letter too.
Okay.
You said 10:15.
Yeah. And does anybody have an update on the Easter eggs? I haven't been around to hear about that.
We have a meeting, Greg, Jared, myself, and Ian, and Ian, Thursday. We will have more at that time.
But we did hold their bond, am I right?
Well, that's what I'm
Well,
asking,
it's,
to see where we are.
it's in, we have not, it's in process.
Right.
Stan said. It takes a while before. And then we're not sure where we'll get the money or where the bond company will
Well, that's
hire
fine.
the contracts and, do the work.
And then the last thing I have is 106 Kearns Drive. Is turning into another one of these cars parked everywhere situation. There's at least 8 vehicles or maybe more parked in the yard, in the driveway, and in the side yard. It looks like a junkyard. I don't know what our ordinances are. We had the same situation at the other end of the development, down at the end of Greystone Drive with the other gentleman with 20 cars on his property and the camper in his backyard. I think he's cleaned up some of his mess, but it's like, we need to stay on top of these things. And I don't know how we handle this as a town.
We hire a town planner.
As an environmental issue, it's parked on the grass was an environmental issue. From, I think it was a county ordinance, Ethan. And with them, you know, if you went to the case on a county issue, and it goes through environmental concern. So you more, was that?
Leaking oil.
Yeah, but potential leak oil.
Yeah, potential. I was gonna say,
You're
you
not
can't say it's leaking, but it's just.
All of them have tags.
Yeah, I didn't know they had anything other than that.
Great.
They're tagged.
Yeah, I don't know, it's just, it's ridiculous.
I got the complaint too, and I wrote back, well, they're all tagged.
One of them's a hearse. It's the same family that has the hearse sitting there for Halloween. Now it's been there for the last month. No,
He owns a pawn shop in West Virginia.
I think he lost his property or something. He brought everything back. So I just don't know where we stand as a town and how we can control it. They-
I'm telling mine.
But yours aren't, they're not parked in the yard, they're not parked across.
You don't have like an ordinance or, I mean, you have an HOA back in there?
Actually, well,
Oh,
there's not an HOA, there's not an HOA, but there's a covenant.
It could be in your covenants.
One of the covenants states that you can't even have a company vehicle sitting back or a company
Right.
truck sitting back there.
And that's
So-
taken care of, remember? Yeah. there was a couple
So,
of vehicles
but it's
back in
just-
there.
I had a company vehicle parked in mine.
We didn't say anything.
Nobody said anything.
We didn't say anything. It was just one car,
Let's get it back.
but it's just, I don't know what we do.
Hopefully within a short period of time, we'll have a town planner, we hope. I want to keep our fingers
So
crossed.
did you re-interview?
Yes.
Are you waiting on them to decide? Or where?
We're gonna send out an offer letter, this week, so we'll see how that goes.
So accepted?
Yeah. Do you have a good feeling or no?
Yes.
I do, yeah, I have a good feeling. I think this individual fit well with us, so. And it seems that the individual will be up and around. I'm not gonna name any names, obviously, right now, so we're not sent out the letter, but, yeah, I think it'll be a good fit.
So the town planner, then who enforces the town ordinances?
Yes.
It was code enforcement.
But we don't have a town planner, we have a town manager.
But one time we didn't have either.
Well, I know, but we didn't.
But it, we had it, we had it, actually did that.
Yeah, we had a hard time.
We have part-time, yeah.
Happy.
To add just one thing to the meeting, if I may, if we're all done.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Regarding the request from the EDC about this letter and how it came up, and Jerry, thank you for doing that. That did not start off as a letter to the people. Howard and I were in that meeting. It was a 3-4 hour meeting. A member of the EDC organized a group of people, business owners, to come in here, basically hijacked our meeting. And the original request was that the town create a injunction on them. So there were, but the business people that were here was, the tattoo lady and Michelle and somebody who played music at dance. And that was the business owners. But, so that meeting was hijacked and I was, but most of the commission was not pleased with that. I was really not pleased with it. And I spoke my piece and so then it turned into basically we'll make a request for what we can. That's why they were so they not authorized by the EDC. And the EDC was not scheduled for, was not on the agenda to have that done. And so there's been some running around, so sub-organized and, this group, I'm surprised he didn't show up.
But I would personally like to thank Ray and Ron Humble for backing me with my comments that I made too. Without those two guys' support and Terry Packard. Terry was really, really upset. Because nobody knew but one person that these people were coming in. And they all just called about 9 o'clock, well, called about that after 9. It was like a parade coming in.
Yeah.
So we were blindsided.
So you all know there's a history on that, and I was clearly not thrilled with, but it wasn't Terry. Really thrilled with not how that happened. But the request that we're doing now is been because what they actually wanted to do was something we can't do.
Right.
And so, but I'm disappointed that a member of the commission left their seat, came down and joined the group with some kind of without, if you would let me know, I would have had the chief of police in here. We could have got the town attorney. We want to have an organized thing, but don't hijack the meeting. So that's the history on that, just so you guys know.
but I like to thank Jared for coming up with the idea of us coming up with something like we got from MML and Legit on the auditors.
Yeah.
So basically, it's the same thing.
Yeah, yeah.
He's doing basically the same thing with the auditors come to this. The other municipality I was trying to think of was Williamsport. They did Williamsport, but, Joe,
Man showed up.
yeah, Chicken Man, no, Bird Man. Bird Man. He's not a chicken man, he's Bird Man. But Bill Green, as soon as he saw him, thanked him, said, I want to thank you for visiting our town and our town hall. I just want to let you know the restrooms are around there. We have a water fountain here and anything else you need, please don't hesitate to ask us for us. And he just looked at Bill and said, well, I'm out of here, and left.
Did he call
He
him?
treated him with compliments. So that's all you guys.
Bird pass out back.
Nice pecker on doing that myself.
Eric, you started to say something?
Yeah, I wanted to back up to Tony there for a minute. I'm sorry, Tony, I didn't bring this up to respond to you. About 50% poll, I won't get on the random. The developer sent in health department forms last week for Yvette to fill out. I think Jared wasn't here. I walked by and Yvette said, what I do is these, they want to know about availability for water and sewer. I said, don't do anything with them. So at the zoning meeting, I brought up that subject. The gentleman at Subway wants to build additional apartments out back. There's a gentleman out the road who wants to possibly build a garage with a living quarters above it. So is that another fixed fee? Yes. Is that another tap fee? Maybe. Up the road here, that's 4 more fixed fees. Is it more
Tap
tap
fees.
fees?
Yes.
Over here is 2 more fixed fees.
And the mini mart is working on a big
Okay,
apartment.
is it a tap fee or a fixed fee?
Yeah, this,
So I called Colin, we had a 5-minute conversation, you were out of town. I'm gonna bring this up at the next BMUC. We need to know what is our availability based on this King Road deal. We might not have any availability, and we can't keep doing 1 and 2 and 4 and something at the main mart when we might already be in the hole here. So I told you that this whole these forms and wouldn't do anything with them. So I'm gonna bring this up at the BMUC and we'll, I mean, we need to know on Austin's, we need to have a whiteboard with the number on it, you know, and start keeping track.
Keep track of them like he is with his grant.
We need to keep track. And there's still some confusion about, you know, fixed fees. I think we got that down versus a tap fee. Because I'm done, not to have the meeting here, but H&H down the street. That's gonna be 4 fixed fees, but we're only charging them 2 more tap fees. Right. We gotta be careful. Don't set a lousy precedent, because we might have already done it. Right. If that's down here. So, fair enough.
Yeah, I think something that Jared is trying to introduce in this town is policies and procedures that are repeatable, that absolve the town of litigation. So when we start making these handshake deals, which have always historically come back to haunt the town, because there's no consistency. There's not an average litmus test that is applied to every single situation. It's, well, this guy, we need this one and that one and this. Policies need to be created to protect the interest of the town, but also the people that are representing the town. Because to a certain extent in the state of Maryland, you guys do carry some liability.
Yes.
Like I think these are conversations that might be uncomfortable at first. But I think they're conversations that need to be had, and there's a lot of work to be done with it. And a topic that's always come up is there's so much put on the volunteer boards, but the reality is that it's a limited capacity. I think the town is at a threshold. Either the town is going to continue growing or the town stays the same. And right now, it seems that we're growing. I think there needs to be a reality that this staffing needs to start growing. Like we're talking about getting a town planner, but then they're also going to be in charge of code enforcement. But there's enough work that a town planner would be busy, yet alone having to go out and canvass the town to make sure there aren't infractions that aren't going on. So there's a lot of stuff that can be unpackaged with this
Yeah,
conversation,
we have good conversation.
but it's,
You
yeah.
know that.
Also, just remember, they passed that thing about reserving your tap fees and you had to pay like a down payment.
That's right, yes.
So just
So-
keep that in mind, and then if you decide to do those, I don't know that we ever figured out the accounting and how we're gonna bill that and track that as
We
part of the
never figured it
conversation,
out.
yeah.
We never
So
figured it
just
out.
saying, you know, 'cause that'll have to be
Yeah.
happening too, because otherwise nobody's gonna know
Well,
something
we-
got reserved and
Yeah,
paid.
we gotta talk about this in the next meeting, you see, because it's just, it's not being handled consistently.
Well, and the fact that you walk through town hall and that letter was being circulated, there has to be a procedure in place that it goes through the committee. You know, it has to go to BMUC, it has to go to planning, everybody has to know what's going on.
And to that point, Jane, you're absolutely correct. Alex first was under the impression she got it from the health department, and they wanted to know.
Right.
And she said, no, I got it from the developer. And I'm like, well, don't do the town saying, you know. I said, don't send it in, just don't do anything with it.
Right.
Yeah, it's just proper change.
Not that everybody left me in charge, but. Well, it's a good thing you walked through. Well,
Your timing was good.
a lot going on. There's a lot going on.
Yeah.
How are you doing, Jared? Are you, I feel like you're overwhelmed?
No, it's fine. I mean, there is a lot going on, and it's been tough. Yeah, I've only been here for 2 months, so it feels like I've had about a year's worth of work, but
Right.
it's okay. I mean, I'm not complaining about it. I mean, it would be nice to get a planner on board, that'll help a lot.
I mean, a lot of our time is caught up with doing property maintenance. I mean, we've been sharing it back and forth, and it's a lot of work. So that's like taking him away from
Right.
things that he should be focusing on, you know?
Yeah,
It'll help $5 million.
It's just falling out.
I don't know whether, you know, I mean, you come up with a template letter that maybe, you know, a vet or, you know, could fill in, because, you know, in between billing cycles and all, that little bit of time.
Yeah.
We do have those, but some of them are kind of, they're all a little bit different. So we'll change around things like the amount of time we're giving them, or specific, you know, because some are, hey, your weeds are overgrown. Some are, hey, your weeds are now in your neighbor's yard and it's like messing up their sidewalk. So they're all a little bit different, how we word it. Yeah, like merge 2 codes into one, you know, so it is specific a lot of times. There are generic ones. Just sent out like 12 of them.
40, we did 40 today.
There's a lot of them went out today, about trees.
Yeah, so
Hanging over blocking stop signs, hanging over other people's property, sidewalks, hitting people in the head as they walk.
But going back to that, what we're trying to do is be consistent
Right.
with what we're sending out, how we're sending it out, the amount of time we're giving everyone. We're trying to stay consistent with it. And again, when we get a planner on board, this will help me out in all this, and I can focus more on what we're talking about, getting our committees consistent with health. So, stop holding it away from things like that. So I think we're on a good track. It's just things to help.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Have a motion and second to adjourn. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Abstain. Motion carries. Thank you all. Have a good
Thank
evening,
you,
Chief.
thank you,
I wish
Chief.
you wouldn't talk
Good luck.